Hi guys, today we're going to learn or work on Module 3, Lesson 6. And in Module 3, Lesson 6, we're going to multiply two-digit multiples of 10 by two-digit multiples of 10 with the area model. Okay, so throughout this lesson, we'll practice with our place value chart and we'll talk about what the area model looks like. So if you don't have your place value chart, you need to make sure you go get your place value chart. Before we start, we want to review some key words. Okay, so in the lesson yesterday, we reviewed the word unit form and recalled what unit form was. And so that would be when we use our place value unit to express what place the digit is in. So we have, if we had 20, then that would be represented as two tens. Okay, so two tens would be the unit form when we're writing out the actual place value. Okay, decompose is when we break down a number. So in this example, we broke down the example of 4 times 30. We broke down 30 into 3 times 10 to make it easier for us to multiply, because we know 4 times 3 is 12. And then from there, we can multiply 12 times 10 to get 120. Okay, and the last word I want to review, which is a word we just recently used, is area. And so we know that to find the area of a square, we are going to multiply the length times the width. So for this example, we have a length of 10 and a width of 10, which gives us the area of 100. Okay, so we're going to use that during our lesson today as well. Okay, here is our first problem that we are going to discuss. So first we're going to do 30 times 20. Okay, so think about all of the different ways that we could represent 30 times 20. Okay, think about decomposing your number to represent this problem. Okay, so let's see, we could represent it in unit form using 3 tens times 2 tens. We could represent it by breaking down the 30 and decomposing the 30 to get us 10 times 3 times 20. Okay, another way we can represent it is by breaking down the 20 and doing 10 times 2 times 30. Okay, and we need to remember with multiplication, we can write our multiplication problem in any order we want, and it'll still get us the correct answer. Okay, another way we can break this down is by rearranging. Just like I said, we could rearrange our numbers and we could do 2 times 30 times 10, or similar to the first one, we could do 3 times 20 times 10. Okay, so we are going to focus on this problem right here. We're going to focus on this strategy, or this way of writing our problem. Okay, so we're actually going to flip it around so that we have our 10 times 20 times 3. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at first. So the first part we're going to do is 10 times 20. Okay, so we know 20. We can represent 20 in our place value chart by putting 2 in the tens place. And then when we multiply that by 10, we're just moving it one place higher. So that gives us 2 in the hundreds place. Okay, so we know 20 times 10 is 200. Okay, we also have to represent this 3 over here. So how are we going to show 200s times 3? We can just triple what's in the hundreds place. So we end up with what answer? We end up with 6 in the hundreds place, so 600s And we know that 600s is equal to 600. Okay. What if we wanted to represent it in a different way? What if I decided that I wanted to show this problem by representing it as 10 times 30 times 2? I'm going to erase all of what we have here so we can re-represent it. Okay, because we're focusing on 10 times 30 times 2. Okay, so we would start with 3 10s instead of 2 10s like we started with earlier. Actually, let me rewrite what we started with earlier. 10 times 20 times 3. Okay, so this is how we're going to look at how they're different. Okay, so 10 times 30 times 2. So we're going to do 30 times 10, just like we did 20 times 10 earlier. So that gives us 300s. Okay, and then we're going to show 300s in 2 groups, just like this. What is the same about our answer? And think about how we represented this in a different way. So let me re-represent what our first one was. We started with 200s, or 2 10s times 10, which gave us 200s. And then we represented them 3 times. So look at the differences and similarities. We end up with the same answer, but we used different methods to get that answer. Okay, what if we did it a different way? What if we did 2 times 30 times 10? So if we're doing 2 times 30 first, we're going to look at 30 is 3 10s. And 2 rows of 3 10s would be 2 times 30, which gives us 6 10s, which is equal to 60 times 10. So we're multiplying those first. Okay, then we can take this and multiply it by 10. Which gives us 600. Okay, now I want you guys on your own to work this one out. And this one would be almost the same, except for we're doing 3 groups of 20, or 3 groups of 2 10s. And then times 10. Okay, so no matter which way you decide to represent it, it's going to be the same answer. So when you're working on your independent work, there are multiple different ways that you can represent these problems in your place value chart. Okay, so this one would be 60. We end up with the same answer of 600. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next question. And actually, I'm going to flip. Okay, here we go. So our next question is going to be 40 times 20. Now, we don't have a place value chart, so we want to think about unit form. Let's represent this in unit form. So in unit form, we would do 4 10s times 20 10s. Nope, not times 20 tens. That was wrong. Times 2 tens. So looking at this in unit form, we know 4 times 2 is 8. Does that mean that this question is going to equal 8, or our answer is going to be 8 tens? Think about, does that make sense? Well, we need to, since even though we're multiplying our 4 times 2, we also need to think about multiplying our tens times 10. So what does 10 times 10 equal? So 10 times 10 equals 100. So our answer here is actually going to be 800s. Let's decompose these numbers to look at them. Okay, so we can decompose 40 into 4 times 10 times 20, which we can decompose into 2 times 10. So we know we can move our numbers around in any order to make it work for us. Okay, so the way I would like to move my numbers around is I would like to do 4 times 2 times 10 times 10. So I know 4 times 2 is 8 times 10 times 10 I know is 100. So we end up with 8 times 100, which gives us 800. Another way we can look at this problem is by using the area model. Okay, so we know when we're looking at area, we're usually talking about shapes, right? So we're going to draw a rectangle. That is 40 by 20, but that's going to take us a long time, right, to draw all those little squares. So what we could do is we could do 4 tens by 2 tens. And we can show that each piece right here is a 10. Okay, so now each of our squares, even though they're not perfectly symmetrical, okay, or perfect squares, each of our squares is going to be 10, 10, 10, and 10, just like we did when we were showing when we were doing length and width, and we said the length is 3 times as much as the width. So here we have 4 times as much as 10, right? And then here we would have 10 and 10, and this one's 2 times as much as 10. Okay, so we know the area of each of our boxes because we know what 10 times 10 is. We know 10 times 10 is 100. So we have 100, another 100, another 100. Each of our boxes is going to be 100. So how many boxes do I have total? And how many hundreds does that give us? So 4 tens times 2 tens is going to give us 8 hundreds. Okay, let's do another problem. This time I want to do 50 times 40. And actually, I want you to do this one on your own. Okay, first, I want you to write it in unit form, and then I want you to represent this as an area model, just like we did in the last question. Okay, so 50 times 40 is going to be 5 tens times 4 tens. So using our area model, we can represent 4 tens going up and down and 5 tens going across. So each of these would be 10, 10. So how many hundreds would that be? So each of our boxes is 100. How many hundreds is that going to be? So 5 by 4 is going to be, we have 20 total boxes and each box represents 100. So we have 20 hundreds. And we know, using our place value chart, if we start with 20 hundreds, if we have 20, 20, actually, I'm going to change this. If we had 20, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's my 20 hundreds, and we can do groups of 10. So here's 1 10, 2 10s. 20 hundreds is equal to 2 thousands. So 2,000 is going to be our answer. Okay. And you could also show this one by decomposing. You can decompose 50 into 5 times 10. You can decompose 40 into 4 times 10. And then we can move our numbers around and we can do 5 times 4 times 10 times 10, which gives us 5 times 4 is 20 times 10 times 10 is 100, and 20 times 100 is 1, 2, 3, 2,000. Okay, go ahead and try your problem set. Make sure you use the strategies that we talked about during our video today. Decomposing, using the area model, and practicing with your place value chart.